Okay, so we are live. Today is 11th of September and this is OSRA Scrum. Here is Craig, Nikita and me, and we are starting. First of all, we are looking at our timetable for the project. Okay. It's technical discussions or
no, it's
the meeting summary.
yeah,
So.
that one.
Okay, let's look at it.
And it's that planning and strategy meeting. Yeah.
So what to be decided? Every Tuesday planning meetings, grooming meetings every second Tuesday, demo to client every second Thursday.
Retrospective every second Friday. Okay.
Yes. So every second Tuesday is today. Where is our client meeting?
He's had his
Where is
client meeting.
Motosan?
He's
What?
had a client meeting, and he's posted the information of the client meeting on Agile Ventures.
What do you mean he's had a client meeting?
If you just go back, so he met with the client face to face, from what I understand. Is that right, Craig?
I don't know, to be honest with you, Nick.
Yeah.
But what's the point in meeting face to face?
Okay, not sure.
Let's look.
Well, I mean, if they're in the same town as each other, I think it might be quite strange. Quite strange if they have a Google Hangout.
No, but we should have client meetings, not only Motasem and client, but with team.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry, you'll have to excuse my ignorance. I don't know much about this, but I was under the impression that Motasem was dealing with. I thought the client meetings were Motasem talking to the OSRA customer, so I got the wrong end of the stick, I'm afraid.
Yeah, the idea was about client meeting when actually we all meeting the client and he is accepting. At least we making demo, to him. Yeah. What constitutes phase 0?
Well, we don't have a demo really to give him yet, though, do we? So I think this client meeting was just Motasem clearing up all the questions that we'd asked over the past couple of weeks. Is that right, Nick?
As far as I understand, I scanned through this document and I don't see anything that. It doesn't look like they discussed any of the features that have been implemented already.
Yeah, what's the problem? I see that we agreed what constitutes phase 0, but actually phase 0 should be ended at that time where we discuss it. So it's quite strange for me to read it in this case. Okay, let's look at the project. What do we have before we start Scrum, actually, because we first need to understand where we are. Pivotal track. Oh. Okay. Well, that's very bad, but at least we can see it.
When we have these meetings, Pavel, I always feel like I'm letting you down somehow.
We collectively let Pavel
down. No, it's just a reality. Well,
it's just a reality. I agree with you.
I don't know. I thought that 2 weeks is more than enough to finish all these stories. What we see now, what we did actually, I can't understand. Really, did you finish anything?
I've finished my cucumber features.
Cucumber features. This one?
Yes, but I haven't had time to go in and take the last thing off and click it as finished. So I need a kicking for that.
No, you
No, I
said
do.
when to click finish.
When kickings are due, that's fair, and I do need a kicking for that because it's not that I couldn't have. It's not that I haven't had time. It's that I forgot that I had to go back and do it in Pivotal. So I apologise for that.
Okay. Okay, and
but the pull request's been merged.
Okay, but this wasn't a user story even. Do you finish any user story?
Well,
it was chore.
Yeah, it was a chore, and I've got a user story that I'm starting now. I've finished that chore, but that's kind of a little bit messy because it's waiting for Sly's pull request to be merged.
Yes, and he still didn't do Sly request. Pull request, right?
He's got a pull request in, but then now I may not be giving you the full truth. This is just as I understand it, and not necessarily how it really is. But as I understand it, the client has clarified with Mossam yesterday at the meeting that he doesn't want CRUD for whatever for the organisations, which was what Sly was working on. So some of that pull request, I think, may not be needed now, and there's some discussions going on in Slack. I've suggested that we keep it and just don't implement it in the interface, but there's some discussions whether we don't take the CRUD bit out or for his pull request. So I think basically, to cut a very long story short, I think there needs to be some clarification on what he's expected to submit for the pull request before they can merge it. I've not made that.
Yeah, well, all of us completely messed up, you know. Like we created user stories, which actually Motasem as a product owner accepted, and when he discussed that we do not need them, well, okay, but we already did it. Like, or the way of doing it, it's something really strange. Well, we have what to discuss on the retrospective, actually. I just don't know.
I mean, that was my next question. I mean, is this, you have quite a bit of experience on this, is this just a natural part of being a new team and getting used to each other, or are we just being a little bit shabbier than we should be?
Well, in my experience, in the website 1 project, we didn't have this situation. We finished all stories, actually, from the first time. In real project, it's different. I heard that when, well, but you know, this situation is really odd for me because, like, I can understand that we didn't finish the stories. Okay, it's that situation that can happen because we didn't adjust our velocity, so we took more stories than we can. But what is really strange, it's about what Motasem discussed with the client. He shouldn't discuss anything about current sprint that we already took because it was assumed that it is already discussed. In other case, we shouldn't start that sprint at all, you know. That's the point, and that's what we need to discuss with Motasem on retrospective.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, there is not maybe as much discussion with the client as there ought to be, or there hasn't been up until now.
Mm-hmm.
So the stories that Motasem put into Pivotal Tracker, they came out of the discussions that they had quite a while ago. And
yes.
I think the details of the stories were as Motasem understood them or as Motasem remembered them, but then when he sat down with the client and actually they went through the actual story descriptions, then it turned out that things weren't 100% match.
I think there's two elements to that. I mean, in Motasem's defense, I think one aspect of that is that he's been working away on the project on his own for quite some time, and and as far as Pivotal goes, there were an awful lot of stories for him to complete, and then all of a sudden, within a very short space of time, a lot of developers kind of got on board, and maybe
yeah, it's just kind of getting our bearings, I think.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
It went from being a single-person team to at least a 4-person team.
And suddenly we've got people clamoring for stories rather than him looking at Pivotal Tracker and wondering how he's ever going to get them all done. So I think there's an element of that, and I think also there's an element of the customer and Motisum not really knowing exactly what they want until they see a little bit of it, if you know what I mean. And this seems to be a common theme through Agile. You show the customer something, then they see it. So
we didn't show anything to him right now, right?
No, but I mean, even in terms of a developer understanding the interface, I mean, it's only when it starts to get built and you start to see it that things become. I mean, if you look at that, I'm just speaking from my perspective, that ERD diagram is incredibly complicated when you're trying to get your head around everything from the start. And all these things only become more and more clear, and the pitfalls of your design choices become more and more apparent as you start to flesh them out and develop them. I don't know.
Yeah, Craig, I tend to agree, and Pavel, I think one of the things that may not be very apparent from just looking at the stories on Pivotal is that there are quite a few interdependencies between them. Where, as Craig said, for his OSRA ID story, he can't move ahead before Sly finishes his. When I gave up ownership of my story, I thought quickly that I might look for something shorter. And this first story, Orphan OSRA ID, I looked at it, but I cannot do anything with it because intermediate steps have not been implemented yet. So I think it's, even when we plan and when we assign points to stories and we plan our velocity, in the end it might turn out that it's just not as even that straightforward.
I think.
Yeah, because we shouldn't. Yeah, sorry.
I think the only thing I would change if we went back and did it again is maybe if we could break down these stories into smaller stories so that we had very, very short, specific pull requests, then there may be the situation where less people are waiting for. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just a pipe dream, but maybe we're waiting a little bit more because some of these stories are quite big, and by the time someone's got them implemented and it's gone round through a couple of rounds of code review, a lot of time has elapsed. Certainly, when we're looking at 2-week sprints, if it's 3 or 4 days before it's merged after the initial pull request, that's a sort of a third to a quarter of your sprint. And I found, I mean, this is just, I mean, maybe this is better for a retrospective, but when I submitted my feature, there were plenty of things wrong with it, and all the comments were fair, but I felt as I got to the end, it had got so big, it was almost inevitable that more things were picked up, if that makes sense. I don't know whether I'm clarifying that very well. What I'm wondering, sort of with hindsight, whether or not we should have kept it very, very small and focused and fixed the things that were broken, and then any additional stuff that we wanted, maybe add as an additional chore, and come back and do that as part of another pull request. I don't know what the answer is, and maybe it doesn't make any difference, but my gut feel is maybe that it would help a little bit.
Yeah, we could try something. Again, as you mentioned, maybe this is something that we should be talking about in the retrospective rather than here, but if we make a point of trying not to have a 3-point story, ever.
Yeah.
You know, we limited, basically we try to have as many one-point stories as possible. And if there is 1,000 of them, then so be it. But, you know, at least, for example, if all the models were implemented right now, then multiple stories could move ahead, whereas right now they're just sitting and waiting for details to get flashed out.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, well, it's definitely for retrospective, but we should discuss it. Yeah, anyhow, we now can. Yeah, we shouldn't have big stories, and we shouldn't have stories which depended on each other. While something is not implemented, we shouldn't create stories that rely on something which isn't implemented. That's, I think, a way of work.
Yeah.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because we told Motsum that he had to implement all the stories phase 0. So he's kind of...
It was our dream.
Yeah. I mean,
you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel I need a lot more experience on this. I mean, the last time we were talking, we were wondering whether or not we'd go to Fibonacci's for... you know, and now we're talking that 3 is too much, and maybe 3 is not too much, but maybe 3 becomes an epic, and then we have to force it into stories that are 1s and 2s.
One main remark about epic. Epic actually is not a big story.
Okay.
So to understand, it's epic is something. How to, like, you have a backlog. It's like a pipe, very long, and on the top of it, not pile of stories. On the top of it, we have detailed stories with, for example, 1, 2, or 3 story points. But lower, on the lower priorities, like here, we have some stories that we actually haven't voted yet, and some of them in Icebox, which we didn't even know. And this is the epics. Like, we know something about it,
Okay.
and this is the epic. You know, when we start to divide this epic into stories, when we start to create actual stories, when they become stories. So we shouldn't use epic like it's just in this case. So 3 story points. It's 3 story points. It's just big enough, too big for us right now to work with. It's okay. It's okay. Actually, yeah. Well, what Scrum told us actually that we shouldn't rely on plans at all. We should look at our experience. What do we have? So what we have now, we can start to improve.
Pavel, another strange thing, and I don't know whether you've had experience of this at all, and I don't know whether you perceive this as well, Nick, but it's almost like at the start of the sprint, we gained a lot of momentum, and then it's kind of fizzled off. And I'm not just talking about the fact that Nick can't complete his story because of work, because that's just one thing that cropped up, but I've kind of seemed to have lost momentum. And
you know, I've noticed that I think with your features, sure, Greg, I think especially, it spent so long in code review that it was becoming more and more difficult for me personally, let's say, to go back and look at yet another commit.
Yep.
Got pushed. Okay, what's changed? Do I remember what was there?
Yep.
2 days ago? What is there now? Who said what? Why did he change that? Why did he change this? So it kind of turned into
a headache.
Yeah, like it was so difficult to keep track of things.
Yeah.
What we got bogged down with, I think, was not writing code, but this kind of administrative runaround.
And who review pull requests?
Everyone.
Everybody.
Oh.
And I don't think any of the comments were unfair, so that's not necessarily the issue. But I think maybe Nick's right. The thread got so complicated, and the feature, the pull request becomes so long. It was incredibly difficult to make sense of. I think.
Well, but that's not the reason why we lost momentum. It's not. I do not think that if a story would be smaller, we will definitely maintain our pace. I don't think so. Well, I don't know how much was involved, like some Pretty, Nikita, Motasem, and you in the project last week, because I didn't have time to create many scrums. It's more in this case. Yeah. So we were involved as much as we thought we would be involved, or not?
Me, definitely not.
Yes, you definitely not. What about Motasem, Sampriti, and you, Craig?
Yeah, I've probably done as much as I'd expected. I guess I underestimated how much extra work I'd have to do for the feature after code review. That was my biggest mistake. Otherwise,
it's okay. It's not mistake. It's experience.
Well, yeah, okay, but I mean, I think regardless, the fact that I did underestimate it, I think has made this next feature that I've moved onto. It's delayed me getting on with that. But then again, we're waiting for Sly's pull request anyway. But I don't know what the situation with that is, and maybe we've got a small communication problem, because I don't know whether Sly's just busy, and we're waiting on Sly for this, or whether we need to give Sly some feedback and he just doesn't know what to get on with.
But did you ask Sly?
No, I haven't.
Why?
That's a very good question. I guess because I've been worrying about my own. This is terrible, isn't it? Worrying about my own stuff, which is,
Yes. Nobody sent anything to him directly. There was discussion of, or was there even a discussion? Yeah.
He submitted a pull request, and it seemed to go through a couple of rounds of quick code review. Was that right, Nick?
Yeah, it went through fairly fast, and
it just seems to have...
I don't recall if... Yeah, as far as I recall, there were 2 rounds of comments that I left, and I think he addressed everything. And yeah, I haven't seen him on Slack, I guess, so I don't know if he's around. But I see that today, Craig, you and Motasem were talking about the fact that some of his code might have to be taken out, but nobody messaged him directly. So maybe maybe he's waiting for us to accept his pull request. But anyways, so Sly, like I said, I think he's been away for a few days from what I see. And Sampriti also, I think, when during the week he's a lot less available than he is on weekends.
Sampriti, where's his stories? I do an orphaned list. No, it's Motasem.
I think this is actually going to be a Sampriti story, from what I understand.
An orphaned list. Okay.
I've just put a message on Slack asking the channel to decide what we're going to do with slides pull requests. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway, it's our first experience in doing that. We will learn our lessons, I think, and do our best. Let's make Scrum, because I just...
Right.
It wasn't a Scrum till now. Okay, Craig, what did you do?
I've had my
Sorry.
pull request merged, and I've discussed what models need to interact with my story to take it forward with Motism. I think I can do a little bit of work stubbing out in RSpec to test the functionality that I'm going to write. So it's not completely dependent. All of it's not completely dependent on slides pull request, but it will get to a stage where it is. Implementing views and stuff. We need all that code merged before I can do that. Other than that, there's nothing to report.
Okay. Nikita?
So for me, yeah, as you know, basically since the last Scrum, I suppose, I had to abandon the story that I had intended to work on. It's this, it's the link a sponsor with an orphan story. That's at the bottom of the current list. On Pivotal Tracker, I had to give it up because I knew that I wasn't going to finish it before the end of this sprint, just due to lack of time. And in the meantime, the only thing that I've done was I submitted a very small pull request that it actually doesn't, there was no pivotal story for it. It was a chore that it probably should have been a part of a previous chore that I had done. So that got code reviewed and it merged in. And since then, like I said, I took a quick look for other stories, smaller stories that I might be able to work on in the meantime, but I don't see anything that doesn't have dependencies on other stories that are currently unfinished. So I basically haven't done much since then.
Okay. Let's call Scrum finished and proceed discuss some things. Nikita, but but your vacation was planned, right? And you know that you will finish it.
My vacation was planned. What wasn't planned was that as soon as I got back to work, I was faced with a deadline 4 days later.
Oh, I see. You didn't know that before. Okay. Okay. So your story was linked to sponsor with an orphan, right?
That's right. Yep, that's the one.
And import orphans from an orphan list. Which story? Whose stories?
That's Semprity, or yeah, I think it's going to be Semprity. As far as I understand, basically everything to do with orphans. So uploading orphan lists, importing orphans from an orphan list, and maybe something else. It was all going to be handled by Semprity.
Okay. But it's interesting because I thought that Semprity work as much as he can. So why he took that much work for him that he cannot cope with? Then it's quite strange.
We would have to ask him.
Yeah. I don't know about Friday if I would be able to make retrospective, because since I'm not at home, I cannot plan my time normally. So
Okay.
Because tomorrow I think I will participate in graduation of Makers Academy in the evening. I don't know when I will be. Yeah, with Sam. So I don't know when I return.
Well,
Okay.
we
Yeah.
could hold it the following Friday, could we not?
We could, but it's very bad idea because, like, well, okay, we have a sprint, 2 weeks. This sprint is finishing, and it cannot be like stretched into 1 week more. You know, it's incorrect. We should finish it. This sprint, learn story, learn lessons, and start another sprint, which would be better. If we just postpone the meeting for 1 week, what it would mean. Like what will be this week? We would do nothing this week, right? Just trying to launch our sprint. That's not correct. We can do it on Tuesday, for example. What do you think?
I think, well, according to our official schedule, I think Tuesdays are,
Planning.
yeah, the planning for
Yeah,
the
but it
next
seems
sprint.
like we do not have what to plan.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Tuesday should work for me.
Okay. Tuesday. When Tuesday. Yeah, we have what to discuss. And for now, our speed is 0, right?
I think everything that's been accepted have been bug fixes and chores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for now, it's 0. Huh.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. Well, at least next sprint should be better in this case. We have low base, but it's good.
Yeah, 100% improvement.
Yeah, we will have good improvement.
If it's 0, we'll improve infinitely.
Infinitely,
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe not 0 because
Why does it say, Pavel, top right corner? It says velocity 10. What is that?
it is about actually this I can put anything here. I can put 0 here. Yes, it's about planning. It's for automatic planning of a sprint. Like if you put velocity here, it will put the stories from backlog to sprint and something like that. Yeah. Maybe in your pivotal tracker velocity wouldn't be 10, because if we see at a real velocity, I just opened the chart before, and we can see that velocity is 0, and actually it's 0. We in this project we never complete any story yet. It wasn't accepted. No stories wasn't accepted at all.
Right.
Yeah, so hide accepted stories we can. No, we do not have stories which one accepted story.
Well, it's the
one story was accepted. So yeah.
That was the chore, yeah.
So yeah, you can see that we still cannot finish anything. But okay.
Well, it's good. This is exciting. This is the beginning. We still have a lot to do, a lot to learn.
Definitely, yes. And at least we learned that we shouldn't take these big stories. We learned that after reviewing, we had a lot of job, a lot of work to do. We learned that we shouldn't have stories with dependencies on each other, because in this case, we can easily lose momentum. And if we have story which dependent, we should move it back to the backlog, and choose only stories which are independent. It's okay. It's normal.
Good lessons.
Yes, that's good lessons. That's good. Okay, guys. What questions do you have? What to discuss?
My only question would be, I guess, in the meantime, what would be appropriate for me to do when I find myself with time on my hands? The only stories that are in the current sprint, there are those 3-point ones that I know I cannot finish in any reasonable amount of time.
Oh my God, it isn't divided to tasks?
Which one is this? The lists. Yeah, I think the story was created before you came on board. So.
Well, in this case, we should divide these stories into tasks, because Actually, you said that you cannot finish that story at all, but at least you can finish one of 7 tasks. Why not do them?
Okay, sure. So basically, if we're calling our sprint finished tomorrow and the next sprint doesn't start until Tuesday, in the meantime, we just kind of tie up loose ends.
Well, actually, if we do not have a break between sprints. If we're saying that we start in sprint at Tuesday, that means that finishing the sprint on Monday. Monday will be the last day of a sprint, and we're still in sprint.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe someone still accept it. Well, we definitely want actually accept a story. Motasem should accept some stories, and maybe, like, I don't know, OSRA branches would be accepted, for example, and we will have some kind of velocity. We still have a chance.
Is it okay for Motasem to accept the stories on his own, or he needs to do it during the client meeting?
Of course not, but he already met with the client, and as I understand, didn't show him our product. So I don't know. It's a question to discuss on retrospective why he didn't show the product.
Well, I'm not sure we have a product to show yet, do we?
Well, I don't know what is this all about.
The parts that are finished could be shown, I suppose.
Okay.
I mean, they don't have any functionality to them.
Do we have Heroku on Heroku instance? Do we have that program or not? Sorry, anyone saw OSRA project or not?
Locally, I have.
Okay, and it works?
I think Motasem has a development and staging servers somewhere, but I don't know where they are. And
anyone can show me this project.
Well, we can clarify that on the next meeting that Motasem's in, can't we?
No, but guys, like if you have GitHub and you work on it, then you can. If you didn't start work on your story, you just merge from the master branch, and it should work, right? You should have website and. It should be. Okay,
Pavel, I think it exists. It's just I don't know where it is.
But okay, but if you on your computer it works?
Locally, sure. Yeah.
Can you share your screen to show, or you cannot share it? No?
I can. Just give me a second.
Share your screen. Really? Because the better way to check if we have a product or not is just open it.
Okay, let me do the share. Okay, so I am in OSRA, and just to make sure that I have the latest. I didn't. What's the login for this, Greg? Do you remember?
Admin@example.com.
And its password?
Yep.
No. It didn't let me go.
Yeah.
This is weird because I did have it working at some point. Must have been one of the pools that messed it up somehow.
You could go into the console and...
Yeah, I suppose.
And what console give you?
You can create an admin user. Is the model name admin user correct?
Yeah. Capital A, capital U.
Oh, there aren't any. That's why.
So admin user dot create.
Name. No, email.
I think it's email. And password.
It isn't in.
Yeah, it looks good.
It isn't hidden with password, no?
It will be. It will be encrypted. I should have done admin instead of user. Okay, so.
Well, at least we have. Well, so we have product.
There is something to show to the client, definitely. Yeah.
We have. And if we look at the stories, user must log in. It works, right? You logged in.
Once I created the user through the console, yes.
Well, at least you logged in. I mean,
Yep.
but we have some stories to accept. I don't know.
Yep.
Can you add a partner?
Let's have a look.
Wow. Okay. So we really need to see MotoSem, because if we didn't show that to the client on yesterday meeting, I do not understand why we meet the client actually, because that was the main point to me.
Okay, and to be honest, Pavel,
Yeah.
I don't know whether he didn't, or hasn't already.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Maybe they looked at all of this.
Maybe, but why it is not accepted?
I don't want to speak for MotoSim.
Yes, sure, I see. It's just two questions, but
I thought when we discussed this, we said I may be getting confused now, but I thought when we initially discussed all this, we said that we wouldn't accept them until we hit phase 0, did we not?
oh well, no, we discussed. Well, actually, maybe yes. It was. Sorry, it's problem with my English. It was. It was intentionally thought that because with phase 0 it's the first sprint, we thought that at the end of phase 0, which is the first sprint, we should show our stories. But well, suddenly it is finished. We should have a client meeting on Thursday, which is today. Yeah.
To clarify, phase 0 and the first sprint are two different things, aren't they?
Initially, I think they were supposed to be the same.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And then phase 0 turned into 2 sprints.
Okay.
I don't know when it was. Oh, it was turned into 2 sprints. Okay, I see. Well, yes, okay.
Again, this is the best of my memory, guys. I don't want to.
But anyway, that means that first sprint is we should demo to the client every sprint. So we sprint, we should demo what we have. If we have login, we should at least accept login. So in next sprint, we won't be with that story. That's the whole idea. Like which would be accepted, which won't be accepted. Because now we have like a whole bunch of stories. Most of them are, we don't know accepted or not, and we like starting to build in our house based on a foundation which we do not know accepted or not, which is really weird in this case. Yeah, but we need to meet MotoSem. Maybe he really showed it and click accept to that stories, and in this case we would have some velocity,
Okay.
And we'll work on something else. Yeah. But demo at every sprint. It's the most important part of a Scrum, of any agile methodology. Actually, without demo, there is just what's the point of doing something?
All right. Well, let's bring it all up next week. On Tuesday.
Yeah. Yeah, on Tuesday. On Tuesday. Oh, and see, until Tuesday, you can work on tasks on the story for link sponsor. Why not?
Okay, I'll take ownership back of it then, and I'll do
Yes,
as much
yes,
as I
sure.
can.
Start working. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Craig, can you work on sponsor OSRA ID, or you need clarification from slide?
No, there's probably bits I can get on at the moment. If you look at the Slack channel just before we disappear, I've posted a couple of comments while we've been having a meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think deciding what to do with slice pull request and whether to take out that code or to leave it in. Yeah, that should be a priority at this point.
Yes, because this is the bottleneck for us now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, then.
Thank you for being so patient with us, Pavel.
Oh, I wasn't patient at all. Sorry. Oh, but thank you, guys. I think it's anyhow it's good experience because when all is doing well, it's not that good. You should have something to work with. It's interesting when you can improve. That's the most interesting thing.
All right.
Okay, guys. See you later, man. On Monday.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.